Okay, just got to get the mic set up here. All right, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about changing your mindset around recovery. Just going to change this camera around here and make sure that we're all good. So, we're going to be talking about changing your mindset around recovery. So, before we get into it, who I want to see on these live streams are people involved in the journey of high performance athletes. So, whether that is parents of high performance athletes or young up and coming high performance athletes, whether that's the athlete themselves, whether that's coaches, anybody involved in that journey. I'm going to be doing these live streams every week, every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. And I would love to see you here. I'd love to see you here to talk a little bit about different topics that are important to myself personally, important to athletes along that journey of high performance, and things that, in my experiences, I've been doing this for a pretty long time now. Things that in my experiences will help athletes out a lot as they move along this journey, and also questions and things that come from you, questions that come from people that are tuning into the live streams, people that follow me, athletes that I work with during my day-to-day running my business, or anyone else. So let's get into it here. We're going to be talking, as I mentioned, about changing your mindset around recovery. And the reason I wanted to talk about this topic today is that I talk to a lot of athletes within my week that have the mentality that if they're not working, they're getting worse, or that, they need to be working while their opponent sleeps. And this mentality of, always being the hardest worker in the room, always being the one who's doing the most. And obviously, it seems like common sense that if you're going to succeed in sport, if you're going to succeed as an athlete, you need to be doing more than your opponents. You need to be the one that's working hard. You need to be the one that's willing to put in the effort, put in the work that your opponents aren't willing to put in. And yes, that's absolutely true to an extent, that hard work is obviously crucial to success in sport. I want to make that very, very clear as I sit here. I'm not trying to tell anybody that they don't have to work hard in order to be successful as an athlete. That's just ridiculous. You obviously have to work hard to be successful as an athlete. So when I start talking about recovery and I start talking about why hard work over anything and everything all the time might not be the answer, don't get fussed about it. Don't get upset about it. This is not me telling you you don't need to work hard. But talking about mindset around recovery, we're going to get back to that point that I just made. So many athletes out there that feel like if they're not working, that means they're getting worse. Or if their opponent is working while they're resting, then that means their opponent is going to end up being better than they are. And I just want to go into why this isn't true. Because again, hard work is very important, but hard work is not the be all end all answer over everything. The way I would take this up a notch for you is think about intentional hard work. Think about what you're actually doing when you're working hard. Are you working hard for the sake of being able to post something on Instagram and say, hey, look at how hard I worked? Or are you working hard in a way that's actually going to benefit you when you come back to sport? And so, one of the big things that I find athletes fall into in this case is what I like to call checking the box. When you go on social media, when you go on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you see so many people talking about, how hard they work at the gym and how, like those motivational videos talking about grinding when your opponents are sleeping, Kobe Bryant talking about being up at 4 a.m. to train and all of these things, which can lead to people thinking that the only answer to being successful as an athlete is always working and never resting. But we fall into this traps, right? That, we almost feel like we're showing up to the gym because we have to. We're showing up and we're putting in the work because we know that that's the answer to being successful. Being at the gym and, putting the work into being at the gym is the answer to being successful, which, yes, is absolutely true. But again, what comes back to what you're actually doing with those hours. It doesn't matter how many hours you're training, it matters what you do with those hours. And a quick way to talk about that is think about it as if you're getting in your car at the start of a road trip. If you know that you're relying on this car to drive for 12 hours, you're not going to get into that car and say, okay, car, I'm not going to fill you up with gas. I'm not going to change the oil. I'm not going to take care of you. I'm just going to get in the car and I'm just going to drive. And I expect you to make it the whole way through that trip without any gas, any oil, anything. You're going to take care of the car. You're going to make sure that the car is functioning at the top level that it can possibly function. So going into that, when you're spending all those hours at the gym, when you're working as hard as you are, when you're going to that extra training session every single day to show that, you're the hardest worker in the room, I have a challenge for you. Audit every session. Did you just work or did you improve? Because if you're just working for the sake of working, if you can't sit down at the end of any given training session and say, I'm working on improving this today, whether that's a physical quality in with a strength and conditioning coach like myself, and you're working on improving your speed, your power, your agility, your strength, whatever that physical quality might be, or whether that's a skill session, if you're a hockey player, whether you're on the ice, if you're a combat sports athlete, that's another niche of mine, whether you're in the gym and, whatever it is you're working on, you should be able to sit down at the end of that session and say, I made active improvements in this area. I made active improvements trying to improve here. And if you can't do that, there's a good chance that you're wasting your time while you're in the gym. There's a good chance that that session, although it might have been really hard work, although you might have been walking out of the gym with your legs feeling like jello and sweating really hard and all of that, there's a good chance that that session's not doing all that much for you. So when you train, audit your session. When you train, audit your session. Did you work or did you improve? Sit down and ask yourself, what physical quality or what area of my skill set did I improve within my session today? So common examples that I hear of this quite a lot are from those two niches that I talked about, hockey players and combat sports athletes. So, I'll hear a lot of hockey players tell me, oh yeah, I'm working super hard. I'm really committed. I shoot 1,000 pucks a day. Okay, that's great. But if that 1,000 pucks is you just half-assing lobbing pucks at the net with no idea of where you're placing them, how hard you're trying to shoot, different types of shots that you're actually going to see in a game, you shooting 1,000 pucks did not make you better at shooting. The way you actually improve your ability to shoot a puck in the game of hockey is to take that number of pucks that you're shooting every day and plan them out. I'm going to try to put 50 pucks into the top left corner. I'm going to take 100 slap shots. I'm going to, make an actual plan for those pucks that you're shooting every day. So even if you take that number down from 1,000 and you do 500, that's still a lot of pucks every day. But if you can plan out those 500 pucks, as an example, I'm going to take 100 slap shots, 100 wrist shots, 100 snap shots, but I'm also going to put, X amount in the top left corner, top right corner, bottom left corner, bottom right corner. Now you're looking at it and you're actually working on your ability to put a slap shot in the top left corner of the net or put a snapshot in the bottom right corner of the net. You're not just shooting pucks for the sake of shooting pucks. Now, if you're watching the replay, let me know if that makes sense. Drop a comment. Let me know, does that make sense? Does that not make sense? Do you feel like I'm crazy for telling you to do a little bit less work? Or do you feel like that makes sense, that even if you're not doing quite as much, if you're doing it with a purpose, if you're doing it with intention, this is still going to benefit you more than just going in and working hard for the sake of working hard? Another common example I hear with this one a lot is combat sports athletes. I'll have people come into the gym to consult with me about working on their strength and conditioning, and they tell me part of their training is they hit the bag for an hour at the end of every night. And it's all good to go in and hit the bag for an hour. But again, if you're just mindlessly throwing punches at the bag for an hour after you finish training every day, ask yourself, how much are you improving? Are you just hitting the bag for the sake of hitting the bag, or are you working on a specific combination? Are you working on a specific punch or a specific kick or a specific shot that you're going to be able to use when you're actually fighting? Because again, if you're just hitting the bag for the sake of hitting the bag, that's great, but that's not improving anything. That's not giving you a skill that's going to translate to your fight. If you're working on a specific combination, something that you're going to try to throw the next time you fight, that's giving you a specific skill. That's working on something that you're going to actually be able to use, that's going to actually be able to benefit you. So even if you take that hour down to a half hour, but that whole half hour is used to intentionally try to improve something that you're going to use in sports, something that you're going to be able to throw in an actual fight to help you win in competition, doing that half hour of intentional work is going to be more beneficial than doing that full hour of half-ass work where you're just throwing random punches and kicks at a bag. So I'm really hoping that as I'm going through this, people are understanding, people are getting the fact that I'm not telling you not to work hard. I want to reiterate that again. I'm not sitting here saying, in order to be a successful athlete, you just need to recover all the time. You just need to, not work as much, not do as much. But what I'm trying to say is put the ego aside. You don't have to come in and be able to show, hey, I'm the guy who spends 5 hours at the gym every day. If you're not improving within those 5 hours, if you're just there, that doesn't mean anything. So you've got to ask yourself, do I want to be the guy that can brag about how hard I work and how many hours I spend at the gym? Or do I want to be the guy who can actually take those results and apply them to sport? Do I want to be the guy who actually continues to rise through the ranks in my sport because I'm doing the right work and I'm not just trying to brag about how hard I work or trying to brag about how many hours I spend at the gym and how, training is my life and I don't ever have time for anything else. It's all good if you want to make training and make your sport your life. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. But remember, being at the gym doesn't get you the results. Showing up doesn't get you the results. Intention in your training, understanding what you're actually trying to work on, what you're actually trying to improve, what skill set or what physical quality is going to improve as a result of the time you spend in the gym. That is what is going to improve you as an athlete. That is what is going to get you the results you're looking for actually back in sport, actually back in competition to help you achieve all the goals that you set out for yourself. Now, I talked a little bit about the gas in the car analogy. Again, you can't just hop in your car, empty out the tank, and then drive and expect it to go anywhere. And this is the same thing when it comes to recovery. The reason that a recovery day is so important or recovery sessions are so important within your week is this is like you refueling on a road trip. If your car's been driving for 5 hours and that gas light is on and you know that you don't have much longer to go, you need to stop at a gas station. If you're training 3 times a day, every single day, you're going to hit a point where you feel yourself going into that training session or going out onto the ice, whatever the sport is, and you're just dead. You don't have anything left. There's no energy left in the tank to go into that training session. Now, immediately, a lot of people go to, well, I've just got to push through the pain. This is mental toughness, all of that. Sure, maybe that's going to make you a little bit more mentally tough if you go in and train while you're hurting or go in and train while you're sore. But you got to ask yourself again, if you're dead to the point of barely being able to keep your eyes open, not really being able to give a good hard effort into that training session, how much are you getting out of it? How much are you going to actually benefit from being there for that hour if you can't really give it the effort you want to? And again, that's like refueling on the road trip. Instead of going to that 17th training session of the week to try to just grind through the pain, going home that night, getting a good night's sleep, getting a good meal into you, recovering and coming back to training the next day, you're going to feel sharper. You're going to feel faster. You're going to feel quicker. And guess what? Your body's going to heal. So those nagging aches and pains you start feeling every day while you're training are going to start to go away. So again, you do have to work hard. You do have to train hard. You do have to push yourself to be a great athlete. But one of the best ability that an athlete has is availability. And that is a pretty cliche saying. I've heard it thousands of times before, but it's true. I don't care how skilled you are if you're injured all the time and you can't compete. The way that you are going to improve as an athlete, the way you are going to actually see success as an athlete is if you are healthy, you're strong, and you're ready to compete. If you're healthy, you're strong, and you're ready to compete, you're going to be able to do better than the guy who has a higher level of skill than you, but is always hurt and can never actually get to competition. So keep that recovery process in mind. Make sure that you're thinking about your recovery. You're adding something in to actually take proper care of your body, and you're not just pushing all the time. The final thing I want to talk about with this is change your mindset around recovery. I hear so many people talk about recovery being their day off. Oh, I struggle to take a day off because I feel like I need to be working. And I understand that because you feel like you need to grind, you feel like you need to work, and taking that day off is a difficult thing to do. But reframe that in your mind. Your recovery day is not a day off, it's part of your training. It's just a different kind of training. That day doesn't mean sit down and do nothing for 18 hours and then get up just to go to sleep. A recovery day can be active. It's just not going to be physical and not going to be burning you out the way that a lot of other training days will. So with that recovery day, keep that top of mind, but also reframe the way you think about it. Stop thinking of it as a day off. Think of it as your training for that day is, a mobility session, a light cardio session, and then whatever else you want to add into that day that's not physically taxing, but is going to help you recover, help you refuel, and help you feel better for the upcoming week of training. So just to close this out, I wanted to thank everybody that has taken the time to tune in, and thank everybody that's going to be watching on the replay as well. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me, listen to my thoughts, and I hope this was of some assistance. I hope that you got a little bit out of this, and if you did, I'd love to hear exactly what that was. So drop me a comment if you're watching this now, or if you're watching it in the replay. Let me know what you took away from this, if this helped change your view on recovery, if this helped you realize how important it is to put gas into your car before you go on a road trip, to put fuel in the tank to be able to actually make it through that hard week of training. And as well, if you're struggling with this more, if you're listening to this and you go, you made some good points, but I still feel like I need to be working more, send me a message. Let's talk about it. One of the things I really strive to be doing now is helping athletes with things outside of just the physical lifting, sprinting, jumping, conditioning work that I do as a strength and conditioning coach, but to start helping with these things too. So if you're struggling with something like this, shoot me a message. Tell me what those issues are. Tell me what you're struggling with, and let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk. Let's see if there's something that I can do to help you to make sure that we're, again, giving you that longevity that you're seeking, giving you the foundation that you need to build that career you want in sport. So that's it for me. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to you all again soon.